Legends, good morning. How are you? It is the 8th at about 8 in the morning. Um, so hopefully you guys are all right. We've had the worst 3 days of the S&P on record. So yeah, the world's freaking out, understandably. The whole tariff thing is crazy. Monday's open was immediately down. Just zoom in. So So this is the day here. So here's the open. All right, this candle here. So immediately after it opened, it just dumped 5%, which is like crazy. 5% on an S&P is crazy. You know, people had a whole weekend to digest what had happened, and then they've gone, right, as soon as it opens, we need to cut this stuff, or we need to do this or whatever. And because these tariffs are ludicrous, like 10% across the board makes sense. And is digestible and is easy to deal with. But, you know, when you're talking all out tariff war with other superpowers like China, and then China's going tit for tat back, it's, yeah, understandably, people start getting nervous, right? Markets get nervous. Markets hate uncertainty. It really doesn't matter whether the news is good or bad news as long as it's predictable to a point, right? If nobody knows what's going on or nobody knows what's going to happen, more to the point, if nobody knows what's going to happen, you can't plan for it, right? If you knew that certain events were going to happen, you could plan for it. But everything's up in the air. So everyone's really nervous. So they're just selling risk assets. Everything is just like we are out until we can figure out what's going on. The tariffs don't even kick in until the 9th. And it's the 8th here, so it's not, so it means it's the 7th still in the United States. So there's still like 48 hours until things kick in. Anyway, so let's go back, zoom out for a second. Here was the last all-time high swing, and you know, it came back down and came back up, and it's come like, look at that, look where I've drawn it. Like this is the high here, and then it's just gone down and tagged it. I mean, it's really, it can be sometimes that simple, even in market turmoil. TA, like simple TA, like real simple stuff, like horizontal support and resistance, it works. It also lines up well with the 200 EMA here. I use that a lot. The 200 EMA, which is this purple one. And that's all lining up together, so that's confluence for me. So, I mean, if it falls below this, then we're in huge trouble. Or at least the stock market is. It's in huge trouble. Even as it stands, we've gone down. How much is that? So 21, 22%, right? Let's go have a look at COVID. Ignore those, they're old lines. So here's COVID. The COVID crash was 35%. And we're on the weekly chart at the moment. So that's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5-ish. That's like a whole month, right? So far, if you measure it from the very top, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. This is the start of the 8th week, so it's 2 months. It really depends on where you start counting it from. At the very tippy top, about 2 months. In percentage terms, it hasn't fallen as much as COVID. In points terms, let's have a look. 6-1 to 4-8, and this is like 3-4 to about, so that's like 1,200 points, and this is more than that. So 4-8 to, yeah, about, what's that, 1,600? So yeah, bigger. But there was a 3-day period in there where it was the most on record. We'll get to that in a second. So yeah, but it's bounced nice here off support. So it's cool. And Bitcoin, if we look at that, has done a similar thing. So here's the last all-time high. That's the last swing high, and it came back down. It's probably easy to see it on the daily. So here, this part here, and then here, all in a line, and then it's just missed it. So the key will be what's going to happen in the next, like this week, because like I said, tariffs don't kick in until like 48 hours from now. At the moment, this is just an underside retest, so it could come back down, and then you sort of do that, and then maybe recover. I don't see a V-shaped reversal coming unless there's some sort of big tariff withdrawal, or we see news of China and the United States coming together saying, oh, we've sorted everything out, we're going to do this instead, and reduce tariffs, or we'll do this to our dollar if you do this to your dollar, and blah blah blah, all that sort of stuff. Whatever happens will be, it needs to happen in such a way that they will both look like that they have won. Trump's not going to back down, China's not going to back down. They need to come out of it looking like they've both won, like they've both gotten what they wanted. If they can't do that, then nothing's going to change. The tariffs, they're crazy. They're too big. There's real people being affected by this. Like I've seen videos of people online putting up. They got a small business. They're in the United States. They produce an item or items, and the only place that they can get their raw materials or the parts or the thing itself, because they designed it but it's manufactured overseas, is overseas in China or Vietnam or wherever, where the tariffs are crazy. And if profit margins are less than the tariff, they can't sell it. They're not going to make any money. They have to close down. And on top of that, you'll have other increases in all these other things, right? So, plant and equipment is made of steel. Steel's going up by 25%. So costs are just increasing everywhere. Businesses, they're putting out, they're kind of like desperation videos, like, oh my, Trump, please reconsider, because you are going to kill small business. It's not good. Right. So on Twitter and Facebook, I put a post here asking for questions for this video. Now I was going to do the video yesterday, but well, I just didn't. I think like the market was a bit crazy. I figured that we would get a little bit more clarity on what the macro environment was going to be. I'm still yet to see clarity, but I think the markets have calmed down a bit. So let's go through some of these questions that I got. So the first one was about buy levels for Bitcoin and where do I flip bullish. Now I talked about that in the last video where I would buy. So we'll just quickly go over that again. So this was the level that I was looking at. Here is the trend line, which should be quite obvious. So lower lows, lower highs. This is the trend line. This entire section here is bearish, and until it starts making higher lows and higher highs, we're not bearish. Yeah, we will be bullish when it starts going the other way. So meaning when we start zigzagging upwards, right? And we're not doing that. And we've had people say, oh, we're bullish now. Well, like this particular section, sure, but we needed to break here, like at a macro level, like a higher up, like a weekly. We need to be over here, and we're not here. And until we are here, we're not. So trading based on hopium isn't going to help. Buying the dip, sure. The best you're going to get if you're going to do like a TA scalp sort of thing is buy here and then take profit like at this level, which is where it almost got to. Or here, if it touches this trend line, or if it touches these EMAs, you cut it. You your profit because it could come down just as easily as it can go up. If it zigzags its way here and then you take profit and then it breaks through, who cares? It's going to come back to this support level, right? So then when it does, then you re-enter. So you sold here and then you re-enter here. You didn't lose anything. It's fine. You just continue on from where you were. It's good. It's going to pull back. They always do. Markets always run in zigzags. Look, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down. Like it happens all the time. Markets never move in a straight line. In the last video, I talked about this area here being meh, being indecision and all that sort of stuff. I'm still on that. God, so many drawings. Here, and I put this just as sort of like a secondary one because there's tops here and here and here, right? So the key areas are out here and in here. If we just draw a fib, golden ratio, like right there, right in the middle of all this. It got front run, and that's to be expected, but that's fine. We still don't have any clarity on the tariffs, so who knows, right? Buying little bits here, buy more here. If it gets down into in here, here's another level. 67. I've seen other people look at this 67 level, so I mean, and it makes sense from a TA perspective, just like with price structure. So like anywhere in here is good. And then this part here is like no man's land. And then we get the next level is like here, which is the bottom of this range and this little bit. So if you're dollar cost averaging, that's where I would have your limit orders. So here, nothing here, and then here. That's 52, which is the bottom of here. That's when everything just collapses, like everything, like it's global reset, D-Day, worst of the worst, right? Because the S&P will have to do a similar thing. Like if the S&P falls below here, it's going to come, let's go back to the weekly. It'll come back down to here and then probably here. So at this dip point here, right, which is below the 200 EMA. That's bad. Like I'll get rid of all these lines, so it makes sense. Look at this. This is the weekly. This is going back to 2012. Like that's COVID. It hasn't really fallen below this line, like at all. If it falls down here, oh my, wow. Chances of that are low, but still could happen. Who knows what these talks are going to do? So yeah, that answers that question. So for me, the golden pullback thing right here is a good like low 70s. Couldn't fault you though if you wanted to buy here. As it looks like now, the weekly is bouncing off the 50 EMA. It's looking like a bullish doji. So sure, yeah, I'm with you on that. So a little bit. I think the value area is going to be lower though. So the question was, forgetting macro, what does the chart say about Bitcoin, and is the cycle over? You can't do that. You can't forget macro anymore, right? Because Bitcoin is part of the machine. It's been taken up by Wall Street. You've got ETFs now, and there's options and futures and perpetuals and leveraged ETFs, and like there's derivatives coming out the wazoo. So it's part of the machine, and Wall Street bots, the algorithms, the whole thing is, they're running all over the place, evening things out, making sure things are correlated. There's hedge funds doing their hedging stuff, and right. So everything is correlated to Bitcoin's part of it now. So you can't just do that. But let's just assume that it's back in 2013 and Bitcoin is its own thing and it's not correlated to anything else. And you look at this chart. This is a bullish chart. Up here, like this is just doing this so far. It's just zigzagging up, right? It's higher highs and higher lows. It's just a bullish chart. It looks good. Like this is, you got the bull flag here. This pattern has finished. Right? It topped out at 100. Like the pole and this one here are the same length, right? Which is how those patterns play out. This is a golden field pullback. This is a bounce off the 50 EMA. You can see how prices reacted to it in the past. Everything's great. Like it's lower lows, higher lows, higher highs, and we should go up, right? This is a bullish chart. There's a liquidity grab here. This looks like it's green. Looks like it's going to keep going, right? Nothing wrong with it. Is the cycle over? Looking at it, just the chart on its own? No, it's fine. How's macro going to play out? Yeah, don't know. It will depend on liquidity, right? In the market, like, are they going to cut interest rates? Are they going to start QE? The biggest problem that I see is that you've got people like Sailor and now GameStop, and then all the other countries that are looking to buy, and El Salvador is buying, and states within the United States have signed Bitcoin reserve things. Well, they haven't started buying yet, but like there's all this buying going on and prices still going down, right? The narrative needs to change. Everybody's scared. Tariffs are making everybody nervous. So the next couple of days will be critical. What's the news going to happen? What countries are going to come to the table? What deals are going to be made? As far as the 4-year cycle for Bitcoin itself, the power of the 4-year cycle is going to dissipate. I think this is going to be the last time. Partly because Bitcoin's part of the Wall Street machine now. It's part of the fiat system almost. Maxis aren't going to like that, but it was going to happen eventually. Even if there were no ETFs, even if it wasn't picked up by, Wall Street and everything else, because eventually the halving was going to be like, down to less than 1 Bitcoin gets minted every 10 minutes, right? So whatever it is now, it goes 50% less in the next halving, right? There's something like the high 90% of all Bitcoin ever is out there. So in terms of supply shock because of the halving, oh no, there's like less than half of Bitcoin is unavailable to buy and sell. Demand and supply has been out about, like, it's half a big, like, it's not going to matter. It's not going to matter, especially now that there's so many derivatives. The halving effect, if anything, it's done. It's done. What happens now is narratives and market cycles as a whole. So is the bullish cycle for stocks and this still in line? Is the world buying? Is the world expanding? Debt and everything, is all that still happening? I don't know. Maybe this week's going to be tough. This week's going to be tough to figure it out. So my gut says we still got a bit more to go. But as far as Bitcoin reaching $1 million this cycle, no. Like something amazing would have to happen for it to even break 200. So like for me, I'm looking at like 120 maximum. It's not that great. Like here, 130. So the 1618 extension of this whole thing is about 130. right? Um, Around this number is probably where I think Bitcoin will top out. It's probably going to do something like this, but maybe a little bit higher. That's my gut feel currently. If you're long term in Bitcoin, it doesn't matter anyway, right? But it will matter for everything else. So ETH and Sol and all the alts, because if it tops out lowish, like it doesn't moon, then nothing else will, which will affect everything else because everything else is correlated to this. So it's, I mean, just pure TA, it's fine. It's just following the chart. So everything is as expected. What's unexpected is all this tariff stuff. Next question was about Solana. It's in a similar spot, right? Except we're just on the 200 EMA instead. Like it tagged it perfectly. Like, right? Well, I mean, TA can be as simple as you want it to be. It is unusual that, like, the dump is crazy. What is that? 67%. What did ETH go down? Let's just draw this out a bit. So ETH from the top, exactly the same. The Sol ETH chart, though, is... See, that's why it's gone sideways, basically, right? Because they've dropped the same amount. But this chart here, the Sol ETH chart, is bullish, right? Which means that Sol is outperforming ETH. I mean, that's not a shock. It shouldn't be a shock, even to the casual observer, right? Sol Bitcoin eerily looks like the ETH Bitcoin chart. All right, this is multicoincharts.com. I don't usually use this, which is why the picture, like the alignment of everything, looks really weird on the screen. I don't usually, it's not set up to record this screen, so just bear with me. Notice this, just this area here. Ignore all this stuff. This is the ETH BTC chart, and this is the Sol BTC chart. Both of them are on the weekly. This is going from 2016 to 2025. And this is 2022 to 2025. So, much longer time frame here. But you can see that generally speaking, the shape is the same. So, what does that mean? What does that mean for Solana? Is it going to become, like, is Solana the next Ethereum? Does everything trend to zero against Bitcoin, right? And maybe it does, likely. Bitcoin definitely does have the advantage that everybody wants to buy it, like all the governments and businesses and strategic reserves and ETFs and all that sort of stuff. Solana and Ethereum doesn't have that. That doesn't mean that Solana's not going to go up. It doesn't mean that Ethereum's not going to go up. But if they both start looking like this, and you're thinking for a long-term perspective, do I want to buy that stuff? Probably not. Buy it for the site, during the bullish cycle. So the question now is, do we have a bullish cycle left? Do you layer into here? Is this the bottom? Like it is interesting though that they're very much the same, aren't they? It's eerie. So this could keep going down like this is. Who knows, right? Anyway, back to the question, is it over for Solana? Well, as long as it stays above here, no. And it's like it's doing the same thing that Bitcoin's doing, just on a different line. Just like the stock market is doing the same thing. It's like everything's correlated, right? So as long as this goes up, this will go up. And if this goes up, then this will go up, right? Will it go up as much in percentage terms as the other things? And that's what you really need to concern yourself with. Like, if you like Solana for being Solana, then you would buy that and you wouldn't really care about outperformance. If you're just like purely about trying to get the profit, then you would choose whichever one you think is going to outperform. On percentage-based terms, Solana to get back up to the top, it has to do 180 something percent. Bitcoin only has to do, I don't know, what, 30 or something, 38, 39, basically 40, right? So you will make more money just buying spot Solana and or spot Ethereum. What's Ethereum got to do? 174, so a bit more, right? Everything below Bitcoin is just leveraged Bitcoin. It's the same with like alts and memes that are in the Solana ecosystem. If you buy those, they're just leveraged Solana. So if you want to trade leverage on these things, you can buy the alts instead and hold spot, and you don't have to worry about margin or funding or stop losses or getting liquidated or any of that stuff. You just hold spot, right? And if it goes to zero, well, that's your liquidation point, right? But there's no funding costs, there's no holding costs. It just sits in your wallet. As long as it's a half decent altcoin, it shouldn't go to zero. Eventually, probably will. I don't think it's the cycle end yet, though. Let's have a look at the actual TA. 100. It did dip below 100. It got to 95. Yeah, but that's the line in the sand. I think. Yeah, this is a critical juncture. We need to hold here, which is the same thing as saying Bitcoin needs to hold here, right? Which is the same thing as saying that the S&P needs to hold here, right? They're all the same, right? Everything's correlated. It's all the same. If this breaks and collapses, so will Bitcoin, so will everything else. So don't go thinking that you need to select the right token or I need to select the right coin. If this thing goes, everything's gone. It doesn't matter what you're going to hold, right? Memes and alts will just go to zero faster. That's it. But everything will go down. Can you stomach it, right? The opposite is also true. If it starts to recover, the alts and the memes will just blast off. So, you got to take the good with the bad, right? All right, that's probably enough charts. Let's look at the news, see what's happening. So, this guy, the Rational Root, he does blockchain analysis stuff. He does, graphs and KPIs and charts and stuff. It's really good. So this is the 4-year spiral chart that he does. He's saying that if it falls below 64, the spiral chart is basically broken because it's never done that before. And this is all seasonality stuff. So the red is where the market bottoms and the halvings are here. So it happens, every 4 years. So that's why it lines up on this part of so here, 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 and here. The all-time highs are, well, there's many because like it could go up all-time high, then up again the next day, then up again the next day, right? So here, here, and here, here, and here. So this is where the major ones have. So there's like the 100K line, so it's almost there. That's the recent 100K. So that was like the last all-time high. So this is why we're saying, in terms of the 4-year cycle, we still got a bit to go. So this is the all-time highs that you would expect at the end of the 4-year cycle is in this area. So what you're hoping for is this line to keep going up and stay, like a snail and keep going around, around, around and gets bigger and bigger and bigger. It's pretty close to not doing that. Anyway, the Rational Root, follow him. He's good. Good value. Oh, yeah, right. Yeah, so I saw this morning before I came online that somebody had the reason why there was this big spike in the market was because somebody put out a news report saying that everything was going to be cool, right? It was going to be fixed. There was a deal, but it was actually a lie. So everyone got happy, which is what happened in October 2023, if you remember that. Um, there was a false headline which was wrong. It was about ETFs or something, or um, it actually didn't happen, but the market pumped anyway, which is the silver lining is that we know that all it takes is some good news and then we'll just pump. We'll just keep going. So it's just the uncertainty, right? Tariffs could be permanent and could also be talked about. Yeah, so Trump's saying there needs to be a deal. And if there's a deal, then the tariffs will go away or they'll be adjusted or whatever. So yeah, that's obvious. Quick check of gold. Seems to be okay. That's the weekly. Let's go back to the daily for a second. Yeah, it's fine. I mean, it's basically in the same spot that the S&P's in, right? It's just retraced back to the previous swing high. Like all markets are correlated. Yeah, but people are just buying gold because of uncertainty, right? And Bitcoin is still seen more as a risk asset. So Zero Hedge has put a chart of Friday morning. So that was like a few days ago, where China said, you know what, you're gonna slap us with tariffs, we'll return the favor. This green line is the US 10-year and it's back above 4%. So they're trying to, like the US are trying to get the 10-year bond yield down to make it cheaper to refinance the debt when it comes due, which is like this year, there's something like $10 trillion worth of debt that they want to, they're going to have to rewrite. And they want the interest rates as low as possible so they don't have to pay as much. But China doing the tariffs has sort of ruined that. But then the stock market's still gone down anyway. China restricts exports to 7 rare earth metals to all countries. This is a retaliatory measure. These rare earth metals are what is needed to, make a whole bunch of electronics, and which is what's critical to the US is like their military stuff. So like rockets and things. They need them for that, and China has a lot of it. And they've just gone and restricted it. And this guy reckons it's a plot to Call of Duty Black Ops 2. A fictional scenario involves a cyber attack on the Chinese stock exchange, leading to a ban on rare earth mineral exports. Well, it wasn't a cyber attack, but it certainly did wreck the Chinese stock market. 2 Ripple ETFs are launching tomorrow. Okay. Oh, a 2 times long. Oh, it's a levered long, right? A levered Ripple ETF. Okay. Yeah, of course they're not. As if I mentioned, they're not going to do it. Like these two they're not going to back off. They need to both look like they've won to their own countries, and then everything will be fine. Yeah. So this was the fake news. Someone came up and said considering a 90-day pause. That was false because the White House came out and said that it was false. So, right. So here's the Israeli. Yeah. So the Israel Prime Minister is in the White House right now.
For many countries, if I can mention tariffs, it's a subject of some interest to him. I can tell you that I said to the president very simply, we will eliminate the trade deficit with the United States. We intend to do it very quickly. We think it's the right thing to do. And we're going to also eliminate trade barriers, a variety of trade barriers that have been put up unnecessarily. And I think Israel can serve as a model for many countries who ought to do the same. I recognize the position of the United States that says, we're allowing other countries to put tariffs on us, but we don't put tariffs on them. And I'm a free trade champion, and free trade has to be fair trade. And I think that's basically the position that you have put forward, Mr. President. We are going to eliminate the tariffs. First, if I can mention tariffs.
Cool. Good. Sounds good to me. Let's get this ball rolling. Let's get these deals done. The 10-year, 4.22%. Let's have a look, actually. Right, so this is where the United States want this line to be. So this is 4%. They want it down here, like way down here, like the lower the better, right? So they can refinance when it comes due. They can, when they write the new loans out, it'll be cheaper for them to pay it off. But look at it. This is where all the craziness started, like where it really started to accelerate, and it's just back up. It's back up, like nothing's happened. Go back a week, right? It's the same. It's where it was a week ago. It's been in terms of the 10-year, it's been a waste of time. Like imagine crashing the stock market the world over, affecting billions of people, and to get this down, and it was down there for like a day. The SPY traded its highest notional volume ever today. Wow. China tags President Trump on X with no context. Is he not returning their calls? Is that what's happening? So like they have to tag him? Oh man, embarrassment. Oh my god. There are too many altcoins. Yes, there are. More are created every day. All these memes on Pump Fun. There's too many. Most of them aren't going to make it. 99.9999999% will not make it. So be selective. Alt season will never exist like it used to. There's too many alts. The majority take money out of the market, especially your memes, and we will only see specific alts do well during risk-on periods, which shortly after will begin their trend back down. Don't be fooled by thinking all alts will rise. It won't. Select alts will. Your job is to find them. Couldn't agree more. That's exactly what's going to happen. There will be no alt season. Sorry. It's not happening. There is not going to be a point where everything is going to pump all at once. Those days are over. You've got to be more selective. There isn't enough money to pump everything because there's just too much stuff. It was easy to do it back in 2013 and 14 and 17 and all that, right? Because there wasn't that many. Everyone's basically looking at the like 5 or 10 coins, but there's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of them, and not enough people. It's not going to happen. Trump says he might not reduce tariffs on Israel because we give them billions of dollars a year.
Well, we're talking about a whole new trade. Maybe not. Don't forget, we help Israel a lot. We give Israel $4 billion a year. That's a lot. Congratulations, by the way. That's pretty good. But we give Israel billions of dollars a year. Billions. Well.
Yeah. Well, I mean that's all a part of the deal, right? So if you drop the tariffs, we'll do this for you, right? So like again, both sides need to come out winners in the eyes of their public. Otherwise, no deal's going to get done. The SEC is going to host a crypto trading roundtable this Friday. Representatives from Uniswap, Cumberland, and Coinbase are expected to attend. Okay. Bond futures today down. How many billions has China just sold? Yes, China is selling their US bonds, which is why the yield is going up. Japan's going to get priority due to their speed. Okay, cool. Trump says other countries are now offering things that we would have never even thought of asking for. Pump Fund, top revenue producing app on Solana. Not surprising. Like, memes aren't going to die. Certain meme coins will, but memes in general, not happening. You just got to choose the right ones. Let's just quickly have a look at oil and then we'll be done, I think. So it did fall below 60, but it's back at 61 at the moment. So the reason why oil is going down is because there's fear that, global trade will slow, right? So if global trade slows, you don't need as much oil, right? The shipping containers, the tankers and that obviously is an example of oil being used. And if their ships don't need it, because they're not traveling as much, because global trade is going to slow to a halt, and there's all this oil that nobody wants to buy, so the price goes down. That's something to watch. You want to see this pick up, which is, bad for us in terms of just putting petrol in our cars or whatever. But if this collapses, like it's another canary in the coal mine, really. If this collapses, there's fears that global trade will stop. All right, so I've just noticed that my camera has gone out. I don't even know how long that's been off for. All right, well, apologies for that. Anyway, so yeah, we'll definitely stop now. But everything's fine. I think just, for the next couple of days, just keep an eye on Twitter and see what's happening. And as long as negotiations go well with, amongst the countries, I think the worst of it is over. Yeah, we don't want it going, but if it goes below here, all hell's going to break loose. So, it'll probably just consolidate around here, and then eventually it'll be kind of like this. It'll go down, like we're down here now, so it'll, consolidate a bit and then shoot off there. I don't think we'll get a V reversal at all. There needs to be some sort of miracle deal done, or tariffs just go away instantly for that to happen. So I don't think that'll happen. Anyway, be good. I'll talk to you soon.